Hello friends, a little special video today because it is Pride Month. I wanted to come on and tell you my story about coming out and just I guess my journey and evolution to self-love, because I am 35 years old. I know I don't look it, but when I was young there was even a heavier stigma attached to being gay, and I feel like we've come so far, but I also feel like there's so much more work. And being an artist and musician, I have seen that there are closed doors in my face because of my sexuality and the way that I present my art. And I wanted to just come on here and give you kind of my story in an inspirational way, so that if anyone at home is watching and struggling with who they are or their identity, or they're being bullied, just know that you're not alone and that there are a lot of people out there who can support you. You know, I will admit that I feel very lucky with my story and my circumstance because of how accepting my mother especially is about my sexuality, who I am. Even my father growing into accepting it, even though I grew up with him using the word faggot at the dinner table and a lot of homophobic behavior, you know, and that did imprint a lot of shame in me. And I didn't even realize how much it affected my life until I started really healing myself on this self-love journey, spirituality. I had an awakening over 10 years ago, and I really had to look at my programming, and what I mean by that is the parts of me that were really traumatized and the parts of me that really struggled with accepting myself. And because of that, when I was younger, I used alcohol and drugs as an escape mechanism. And I've seen that loop in my life, and it isn't until I found music and my art and healing, and I did 500 hours of yoga teacher training. I've been practicing yoga since I was 15 years old. And it's probably why I look so young and fresh. But it wasn't until all of that that I understood how growing up gay can really impact you. And I don't want anyone else going through any hard times to feel alone in that battle, because it is a battle. And you know, it's interesting to me because I am such an open-minded person. So it's kind of an interesting concept to me that people are still homophobic and that people don't look at people as just humans. But, you know, we are still going through a lot with social. I do experience, you know, closed doors and haters. And, you know, just the other day I got this comment, and I actually appreciate how honest that person was. And it doesn't really trigger me these days anymore, but I don't even know how to respond, because I don't want to be in that position of having to defend like the whole gay community, or also like tell this person like kind of like you're wrong. Like I don't want to add that to the world. Like at the end of the day, we have to remember that hurt people hurt people. So when you're struggling with your own identity issues, you're going to hate on people who seem free or who are comfortable in their own skin, who are different. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gay or bi or anything. It just might mean that you're not comfortable with who you are. And so I always remember this whenever I do experience haters or closed doors because of my sexuality. I'm like, well, they're not, like, I know that this is my purpose in life. Like music, I have a mission, I'm a performance artist, I'm here to trigger small minds, and I'm here to inspire and keep elevated the people who are already open-minded, you know? And I know that. So when I face any adversity, I can always come back to that and let a lot of things slide off of me. But this comment, like, I appreciated because it's honest and it isn't so different than probably a lot of people and how they're viewing the world right now, because there are a lot of people who are just uncomfortable watching two men kiss or hold hands, you know? I remember when I was younger, maybe I was uncomfortable, maybe I was turned on by it, but like when I was in New York City growing up, like I would see two men kissing or holding hands and I would pay more attention to it. It was different, right? And so if you're growing up, I have a lot of fans and traction and stuff on my music videos and also my music in other countries. So if you're growing up in maybe a Middle Eastern country where there's so much shame, where you could be killed for being gay, then it makes sense that it would make you uncomfortable because your programming, your social programming is anti-gay, right? And what if you are gay or struggling with something inside? It doesn't give you a lot of room. So you're probably gonna lash out, be uncomfortable. I'm not saying this person is gay, but I'm just saying that these are all the different possibilities, you know? And so I wanted to just come on here and really talk about this because it is Pride Month. I use my voice in a lot of activism ways. Like, I know that I'm here as a spiritual healer, right? However you want to put that. Through music, through what I do, through my energy, I'm here to heal people. And sometimes you have to make people feel really messy inside in order to help them out because that helps people grow. So I kind of wanted just to open this conversation because it is Pride Month. And, you know, my experience, like, I came out of the closet when I was 19 years old. And I was so in love with this guy in New York. I was a teenager, he was like 25. But I was really in love and we had a cool relationship. And it was fun and experimental, you know, I was out in clubs all the time. I was like living the life. Like I was a model back then. I had long blonde hair. I was a hot bitch. And I was like at all the club openings and we were in love and we were like summering at his parents in Connecticut. And he had like a duplex loft in the West Village. And it was like a mood, you know what I mean? So I started getting distant from my parents and my mom, especially because she's always been such a close friend of mine, like a best friend. And I just couldn't tell her because this was now a huge part of my life, but I felt like I had to hide. So it was July 25th, her birthday. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cook for you. And I have to talk to you about something. It's like a good something, but it's big. And I didn't want to like freak her out, you know? So I'm cooking the pasta, little pesto, little sauteed vegetable. I'm like trying to sound Italian like my music manager. But yeah, I'm cooking and I'm pouring some wine even though I'm underage. And she really wasn't like, I don't know, she was into it that day. Whatever, I guess her just soul knew that I had to like sip it up a little bit, to swirl it up. So I'm pouring the wine, I cook a really nice meal, and we sit down to eat, and I'm just like, Mom, I have to tell you something. And I could see some panic and worry in her. And I just kind of blurted out, like, I'm gay. And then I told her that I was in this relationship and I just broke down crying and she just broke down crying and she just held me. Getting a little emotional, this is like so long ago, but she just held me and she said, all I care about is that you're happy and safe. And honestly, at that moment, all this huge weight went off my shoulders. Because the reason I really wanted to do this video, is because it is a weight. And there is a lot of pressure and a lot of shame and a lot of stigma. And even though I don't live my life with that now, so I kind of don't feel it. I remember back then when it was suffocating. When it was suffocating to be who I am fully. When it was suffocating to be gay, to have these feelings. When I had to like sneak to Manhattan to like buy like like porn, not like porn, it wasn't even porn, it was like art house gay movies. There was a movie called The Fluffer, let's just be specific. There was a movie called The Fluffer and it was like about like an Italian Guido dude fluffing, like giving blowjobs to like the porn stars or whatever. Or maybe the porn star was like the Italian Guido and the movie was about like the guy off the scenes who gives him like a blowjob to get him like going. Well, I don't know if this is like gonna be flagged for YouTube. But I had to like sneak into downtown Manhattan and like get this freaking movie because I wanted it so bad. And I just remember all this like shame and stigma attached to that. And like maybe I was underage, yeah, sure. So maybe that was like part of it. But the other part of it was that it wasn't easy to be gay. That I did get made fun of. Even though I wasn't out to my family, like at school I was pretty open and some people were cool with it and some people weren't. And I was really lucky because I was also an athlete and kind of like the star tennis player of my high school. So I had respect, but I also had that stigma attached to me. And I know that it's a bit different these days, but depending on where you grow up, it's no different. And I remember when the weight of that was so heavy, too heavy to even be able to carry on my own. It felt like it felt so toxic, So I just wanted to open the conversation for this. If you do feel like the weight of the world is on you because you're afraid to admit to all your feelings, whether sexually or whether you want to go follow your dreams and go live a different life than the status quo, like I want you to know that it does get better. And if you can find like one confidant, like luckily it was my mom, so that was like the biggest one, and telling my dad, by the way, wasn't easy. We waited many months and then basically I made my mom tell him when I was out at college in the Midwest. And he was like, we have to talk when I pick you up for Thanksgiving break. And that was the most uncomfortable, like leading up to that week when I was flying back home. It was so uncomfortable because I knew he was picking me up at the airport. I knew we had to talk about it. I knew that he really struggled with it. He walked around the house for a week, supposedly blaming himself because his cousin was gay and it's like hereditary and it was like all his fault. Like very old school mentality in my book, but I also know that in parts of the world, like it's not old school mentality, it's just how people think. So wherever you are in the world, if you're struggling with this, just like know that my heart goes out to you. I did switch my camera because my vlogging camera was overheating, which it tends to do, and it's really annoying. Sony better get up on that and send me a new one. I know that it's hard and there was a lot of weight on that whole experience, but I also know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and that it does get better, and that not only does it get better, but when you can own who you are, live your own life, then you have meaning. Like, you don't feel paranoid all the time. You don't feel like you have to hide. You can have real relationships. You can have more ease and trust and flow in your life. I just wanted to come on and talk about that because I know that it's still such an important issue, and we have come a long way and with gay rights. And, I see it more so because, I live in London. Being from New York, like I grew up in New Jersey, 25 miles west of New York City. I started modeling in New York at 15, going out. My mom was an Upper West Sider before moving to the suburbs to marry my father and raise us. So, being from New York and like spending most of my life in major cities. I lived in Berlin before this, which there is a lot of shame in Berlin, to tell you the truth. You wouldn't think that from like the idea of Berlin, but it's not as open-minded as it's advertised, especially in sections of it. There are a lot of open-minded people, but there is still a lot of work to do, and we could just do a lot better, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And I mean this in a spiritual sense. There are no labels at the end of the day. And I mean, it's ignorant to not talk about, race or sexuality, or at the end of the day, it doesn't help progress human rights. If we're just saying like, there's no race, there's no sexuality, like we're all just human, like it's ignorant to a point, but at the end of the day, spiritually, we're all human and we're all connected. And that's the important thing to remember. So when you want to hurt people, when you hurt other people, want to bring pain or judgment to other people, there's usually something within you that you're judging or that you're in pain about. And the more that we can be aware to that, the more that we can heal it and grow and become better, stronger, smarter, sexier, because the sexiest people are the most open-minded. Like, rock stars, me, are the sexiest people in the world because they're doing something that is all about flow and energy, right? And like tapping into that collective consciousness. And that comes from having an open mind, coming from one love, one love, baby, Bob Marley, baby. I just wanted to come on, tell my story a little bit, but also just open up about this, open up the conversation about this. And it is Pride Month, so I just thought I would add my little flavor to it and just let you know that it does get better. It can get better. You also can identify as anything you want. Like, you don't have to just be gay or, like I used to make out with girls all the time. Sometimes I see women still and I'm like, damn, not gonna be putting me to bed at night, but so just be whoever you want and respect each other and love one another. We're all in this together. Or like, I have seen closed doors in my face, but I'm here to plow through them. And I know that that's part of my soul's mission, like to be so strong in who I am, my belief, that I plow down the closed doors and open them. And I hope that you plow those doors down and open all the possibility to your truth, your freedom, your heart, your love, Thank you so much for joining me. We're in my new apartment here in Shoreditch, Haggerston area in East London. I just moved a couple weeks ago and I'm still kind of getting it set up, but I'm really liking this space. And I'm actually going to do an apartment tour next because I'm almost finished. I have some stuff to put into storage, but I'm almost finished. I have some art to hang up. Like and subscribe if you want to see that content. And I'm putting out new music next week, and then every 3 weeks this summer, because I have a lot of tracks that I actually have been waiting on to put out, and I'm really excited. So This is my adding to the conversation, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it could inspire you to just be a little more of yourself, whatever you identify as. It's all welcome here. So join the family, subscribe, and I will see you soon for that house tour, and then with a very special music video for my new track, Baby. Peace and love, baby, and self-expression. Mwah.